Hello, welcome back everyone to the Cricket Commish Fantasy Football Hour. Uh, this is our second time going through this. We thought we were up and running here a little while ago, but apparently we were not. So that's okay. We had some hiccups that first one, so now the second rerun is going to be a bit smoother, hopefully. So for anybody out there, please leave a comment, and let us know what you liked about the show, maybe that you didn't like about the show. Uh, Me and my friend here, the real VP, we're going to go over these games, talk about who was a dud, who was a disappointment, who blew up, and who may have saved your fantasy week today. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring on my co-partner here, the real VP. Real
What's
VP,
up?
how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, man. It's been a long day. I'm not really prepared for today, but I'm here. We're flying by the seat of our pants, and we're going to get her done.
We are. So before we get into it, I want to plug a few of our shows here that we have here at the CCN Network, our Chicago Clubhouse podcast network. Uh, Tomorrow, tune in 8 Central for our Tuesday show where we have Frank the Tank, Foulmouth C, uh, T-Nick, and JB, the man with all the stats. Um, they're going to go over the Bears game, talk about that glorious win we had over the Raiders. So,
You did
and
it.
yeah, it was a very impressive win. But I think it was might have been because of that secret agent man that we had on our team. I don't know.
Undrafted free agent, baby.
Yeah. So very pleasant surprise. He managed the game very well. Then also on Thursdays we have our midweek show. I believe that starts 7 Central. That's with Chef, Amp, and Sugar and Vodka, where they go over the Bears game as well and talk about the upcoming matchups. Uh, so I think this upcoming week we have the Los Angeles Chargers. Still can't help it. It sounds so weird not to call them San Diego.
You'll get used to it.
Yeah, in 10 years when they move back again.
Yeah, and then we got another LA team with the Rams. You know, they're not St. Louis anymore. We got to remember that.
Right. Well, them winning a championship in LA kind of helps with that.
That
So,
helps.
um, but and then on Fridays, I believe at 8 Central as well, we have Easy Does It. Easy goes over the Bears game as well and has a different host every week or co-host every week. So I'm not sure who he's going to have on this week. Last week he had on Mr. Chicago breaking down the Bears game. So I'm sure they'll have a lot of fun things to talk about this upcoming week. So let's see.
Some
So
positive things
without
finally. That'll
further,
be nice for them.
yeah, no, it really will. It's going to be interesting to see how fast Justin Fields comes back on the field for them. So if he stays hurt a few more weeks and this kid wins some ball games, then it's going to get really awkward in that locker room here of kind of which direction do we go in.
Yep. Got to make some decisions.
Yeah, we sure do. So, but without further ado, let's go ahead and get into these games and break it down and see who had a good game this week. Um, Real quick, just to recap on last Monday night's game with the Chargers and the Cowboys, it was. Cowboys ended up pulling that game off barely by a field goal. Um, Dak had a decent game. He didn't have very many passing yards, but he had one passing and one rushing yards. I believe CD had over 100 receiving yards, and Tony Pollard was okay. It seemed like he was more effective in the running game, or I'm sorry, in the passing game, um, than he was much of a runner. He had about 6 catches for 80 yards. So So
Getting a shout out for
is
my
that your
jersey
guy?
from Anthony.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Seeing, I got to get these comments out here. Yes. How you doing, Amp? Thank you for tuning in. So, and then on the other end there, the Chargers had a decent game. What's his name? Herbert was okay in that game as well, but they just one of those teams that just can't seem to figure out how to win. And I don't think they had much luck this week figuring out how to win.
Yeah, just can't get a lot going on offense, man. It's been rough.
Yeah. So disappointing. So, but the Bears might have a chance to go ahead and kick them while they're down. So, but let's talk about this week's game. Thursday night game, Jags and the Saints. Pretty entertaining game. Jags pulled that one off, 31-24. Trevor Lawrence, sunshine, 204 yards, a touchdown, 50 yards rushing on a bum knee that he supposedly had. So I don't know. It looked pretty good to me.
I didn't notice it.
Correct. Yeah. I'm just like, okay, he handled that well. On the ground, Travis Etienne had a really good game. 2 rushing to Etienne. Yeah, my bad. He won't ever come on the show if I don't say his name right, I guess.
I know, man.
So Etienne, 53 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, 3 catches for 24 yards, targeted 5 times. So he's being looked at as a quick release when Trevor's in trouble there. And then in the receiving game, Christian Kirk, 6 catches for 90 yards and a touchdown, was targeted 6 times. He did lose a fumble, but he was their top receiver there. Ingram had 5 catches for 45 yards, targeted 7 times, so he's involved in that offense as well still.
I wonder if that's going to keep him in that top 4 tight ends range there. Remember that bet I got with your father-in-law there? I don't know if 45 yards will keep him up there, but I'm hopeful.
It could. Is with the tight ends, it's like there's as long as nobody else really does much beyond Travis and Andrews.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those things where I don't need to be better than those guys. I just need to be better than the rest of these shitheads over here.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them.
Yeah. So, the dud in this game was Calvin Ridley, only 1 catch for 5 yards, 4 targets, but just couldn't bring anything down.
Just couldn't bring him in. I didn't see much out of that game, but when I saw that Calvin Ridley he had one fantasy point, I was like, ouch, that sucks. I just gave a buddy of mine, actually my niece's husband, some advice on a trade, and I said, yeah, go ahead and get Ridley. Yeah, that didn't work out too good for him.
Did he call you up afterwards? Like, what the hell kind of advice? I want to win, not lose, buddy.
Yeah, he was actually here, watching with me, and I'm like, sorry, buddy. And of course he traded away Jahmyr Gibbs, and he kind of had a pretty good game. So it's like, whoops, sorry, buddy.
Yeah, about that. Let's see if we can reverse that. Do a little reverse card on that. So going on the Saints side, David Carr had 301 yards, a touchdown, an interception. He got sacked once, 14 yards rushing. Kamara was the big fucking baller here, 62 yards rushing, 12 catches for 91 yards, targeted 14 times. So it looks like Kamara's the break glass in case of emergency for Derek Carr there.
Oh, absolutely. He's their number 1 receiver.
Yeah, at least for this week he was. I mean, what do you call it? Taysom Hill had 18 rushing yards and a touchdown rushing. Did more damage in the air, 4 catches for 50 yards, targeted 5 times. Chris Olave, 15 targets, brought in about half of those, 7 catches, 57 yards. Michael Thomas caught that touchdown for 42 yards, 3 catches. And the only other one that may be worth bringing up is Rashid Shaheed again. 8 targets, caught about half of those, and for 28 yards though. So couldn't with it though.
Okay.
But Jags win another one, so looking good.
Yeah, they're on a roll there. They're back in the United States. You know, I think the jet lag didn't mess them up last week because they stayed in London, but coming back, they're still on a roll there. I like it.
Yeah, no, I do too. They're building up quite a home crowd there in or across the pond there. So the, them playing there is definitely help build up that stadium for them to kind of make it a home away from home.
Right. Well, we'll see if maybe they can just move themselves over there and just make everybody come play in there. You know.
Yeah, that would be kind of funny. So, what game did you check out, or do you want to talk about first?
First one, I'm just kind of going from the beginning here. Washington Commanders, New York Giants. Giants pull out a win.
Okay.
Let's start with them, I guess.
Hold on. You said the Giants won? I don't think I heard you right.
Heck, the Giants won. Is this on?
The New York
Is it working?
Football Giants, not
the G-men. They come out with a win against the Commanders. So obviously no.
Hey, we got to real quick before you get in. We got a trade question that came in real quick. Let me get your opinion here. You see that PPR trade Jacobs for Eckler or Bijan? Motion man.
I think if
you have
Bijan,
an option to trade him for.
Sounds like he's trading away Jacobs and wants to either trade for Eckler or Bijan, is what I'm guessing. I think if Bijan puts the burritos down and doesn't get the bubble guts, that's a good one. I would do either of those, to be honest.
Yeah. I don't think Eckler is going. Granted, if he stays healthy the rest of this season, he's going to get a lot of the dink and dunk passes, and then he's very capable of taking those the distance.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you can get that for Jacobs, considering Jacobs really hasn't had many games to brag about.
He's not producing much.
Yeah, no. So if you do that, I would definitely pull the trigger on that, especially in the PPR for Eckler or Bijan. Yeah, those guys love catching Eckler, at least 4 or 5 passes.
Eckler probably has the slight uptick on that, just being in a better offense. I would take Eckler over Bijan, but yeah, I would. If you could pull a trade for Jacobs, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm sorry to interrupt you. What were you talking about with your game with the Giants? You said they won somehow. Tell me how they got this one off.
They won a game. No Daniel Jones. Tyrod Taylor in 18 for 29, 279 yards. He throws 2 touchdowns. Saquon Barkley had another good day, 21 carries for 71 yards. None of the running backs got into the end zone this week. Rushing, anyway. Saquon did get in on a nice little pass. 41 yards on 3 catches and a touchdown for Saquon. Excuse me.
Okay.
Darren Waller finds the end zone too. 7 receptions, 98 yards, and a touchdown. It was cool to see him. And is that his first touchdown this season, I think? So, the big hype coming out was, or I guess the talk was, is Darren Waller going to be, an elite tight end, being the only target, the only real target for Daniel Jones. So he finally made the end zone without Daniel Jones, which is kind of ironic.
Go figure.
Not a lot else happening through the air. What's up?
Yeah. No, I mean, it seemed like it wasn't too exciting of a game being 14-7,
It really wasn't. Kind of a snooze fest. Excuse me. Kind of a snooze fest altogether, man. Just not a lot going on either side of the ball, really. So we'll move over to the Commanders here. If my computer will work. There we go. Sam Howell, 22 for 44, about half of his passes, 249 yards. He threw 1 interception, 0 touchdowns. Was kind of disappointing. I did pick him up on the waiver with Bipocalypse this week. 6 teams on bye. Bipocalypse. Is it Bipocalypse or Bimageddon? Which one should we stick with?
You kind of had trouble with Bipocalypse, so let's just do the Bimageddon. That's a little.
Bipocalypse will be in week 13.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. There, yeah,
249 yards.
Sounds fair enough.
1 interception. Big rusher for the day was Chris Rodriguez Jr. 7 carries, 31 yards. Chris Rodriguez. I don't know.
Must be a rookie.
We got Brian Robinson, 8 carries, 23 yards. Sam Howell ran for 15 yards. Not much going on there. Brian Robinson did get in the end zone this week. Through the air, we got 90 yards on 6 catches for Terry McLaurin. No touchdowns there either. So, the ball was spread out around a little bit. Jahan Dotson did have 5 catches, 43 yards. Logan Thomas, 4 catches for 51 yards. I thought Curtis Samuel was going to be a little bit bigger of a force in this game. 25 yards on 4 catches. So a little slide there. Gosh, my computer.
Yeah, he had about 3 weeks in a row where he did good. So this was his first week in about 3 that he kind of fell back down to earth and had a single-digit fantasy game.
Yeah, a little bit. So not a lot going on in that game, to be honest.
Okay. All right. Yeah, kind of a dud there. By the whole squad there.
I guess the takeaway is Sam Howell is not an elite quarterback.
And I just traded for him in one of my other leagues. God damn it. What the fuck? Yeah, maybe I can get that guy to take him back. I don't know. So we'll see. See what kind of crooked commish shit I can do.
All right, good luck with that. I believe in you.
Well, this next game was a bloodbath. It was a massacre. Baltimore versus Detroit. 6-38. Baltimore just smacked the shit out of them.
Just put a whooping on them.
Yeah, I think I saw it was 35-0 at some point. So, before Detroit early even got on the board. So it was pretty ugly, bro.
Yeah, it really was. It really was. And I was watching that game too, and man, the Lions have been so good. What happened? Is it just the Ravens defense is that good? Or did they kind of fall apart this week?
I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. It's it just looks like they didn't get up for this game. The Ravens defense is good. It's always been good. They've year after year they typically have a really good defense, but just this Jared Goff just looked like complete shit here. At 53 passing attempts, it's never good when your quarterback's passing the ball 53 times.
Yeah.
284 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception, was sacked 5 times. Jahmyr Gibbs, 68 yards rushing with the touchdown, 9 catches for 58 yards, was targeted 10 times. So he got his first touchdown of his rookie career or rookie season here. He was one of the lone bright spots. The only one that had a decent game as well was St. Brown. 13 catches, 102 yards, targeted 19 times.
19 targets. That's wild.
I think we know who Goff's favorite receiver is or security blanket is.
Yeah. And then he's got Sam Laporta too,
Yeah. Laporta had 7 targets, 6 catches, 52 yards. The only other one that he even thought about putting it to was Reynolds. 2 catches, 43 yards, and with 3 targets. All the points came on the other side of the ball.
Yeah, let's talk
Baltimore
about the
just
Ravens.
had their
That sounds
complete
like
way
more
with them.
fun.
Yes, let's do that.
Lamar Jackson went off. Huh?
Action Jackson lived up to his name. 357 yards, 3 touchdowns, 36 yards rushing, and let's go ahead and just add a rushing touchdown on top of that. So he had a
Beautiful.
monster game. Yeah, Gus Edwards got in on the action a little. 64 yards rushing, 1 touchdown, 1 catch that almost went the distance, 80 yards. And then Justice Hill, 46 yards rushing. That's about it. Zay Flowers had 4 catches for 75 yards, was targeted 6 times. And Mark Andrews was the only other guy that really had a good game. Or there was 6 targets for 4 catches, 2 touchdowns,
2 tutties.
63 yards. Yeah, the only other touchdown went to Aguilar. The only catch was a touchdown for 12 yards. So everybody else kind of, Beckham had a decent game. He had 7 targets, 5 catches, 49 yards. But like I said, still not living up to that contract, if you ask me. So
I agree.
But
Agreed.
Baltimore definitely put Detroit in their place. They kind of brought them back down to earth a little.
Yeah, they sure did, man. That was a humbling loss there, I'm sure.
Yeah. Dan Campbell's gonna have to go back to the locker room and be like, "What the fuck? We're supposed to be biting kneecaps here, or ankles here."
Biting kneecaps, I like it. It's a new approach.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see if they can get him back on track. I'm sure he will.
My next game was Atlanta Falcons, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and neither of them really looked good. Desmond Mitter, 19 for 25, 250 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Yeah, he sure did. 250 yards. That's a little above mid. I'll give him that. Tyler Algier, 21 yards, 21 carries for 59 yards. Ritter got in for a rushing touchdown. Cordarrelle Patterson, I think they need to use him more. I think he's just altogether more explosive and just a better player altogether. But 10 carries, 56 yards for Cordarrelle Patterson.
Here's the question, though. Who do they take carries away from if they do that? Because you got Algier and you got Rob.
Yeah, that's
if
true.
You're going to give Patterson the ball more, which,
I think he's a better player than Tyler Algier.
Okay.
You
trust him more.
Yeah, you got Bijan and Patterson. I think he's just that bigger back that, and just more explosive.
Yeah.
Anyway, what does my opinion count for anyway? Drake London, 6 receptions, 54 yards. Tyler Algier, a little bit in the passing game, 3 for 53 yards. Kyle Pitts, I was hoping he'd get in the end zone again this week, but he had 3 catches for 47 yards. So still a little underused there, in my opinion. I think Jonnu Smith is getting more action than Kyle Pitts these days, but it is what it is, you know. So Falcons come out of this one with a 16-13 win. And as far as any fantasy implications, Drake London. I mean, I'm a believer in the London train.
Okay. All right. So he's the only one that be worth thinking about, or at least bragging about to stay on your team and kind of keep him going.
Yeah, I'd hold on to him. If you got him, hold on to him.
Okay. All right. Next, let's see. Let's go with the Green Bay game. It's always nice when Green Bay loses. So always just
I thought you'd like
a little smile on my face.
Especially to Denver, right?
Yeah. Denver got him 19-17. It was kind of going back and forth there. Jordan Love had a meh game. 180 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interceptions, 21 yards rushing. AJ Dillon, 61 yards rushing, 2 catches for 34 yards on his 2 targets. And then Aaron Jones, I think that hamstring's still bugging him. He didn't really do much,
Yeah, it
35
definitely is.
yards. Yeah, that's one of the guys I was going against this week with you, so I'm happy he didn't do shit. So,
Yeah, it
but
was awesome.
35 yards rushing, 3 catches. Yeah, for me. Receiving wise, Green Bay didn't really have much to brag about. Romeo Dobbs had 2 catches on 5 targets, 1 touchdown for 34 yards. Let's see. Luke Musgrave had 5 targets, 4 catches for 30 yards. He got hurt a little dinged up. Might want to keep an eye on him. He hurt his ankle, so he may not be ready for next week. He's one of those later on. You're gonna have to see
Who is that?
if he's practicing. Luke Musgrave, the tight end for Green
Oh, the
Bay.
tight end. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
did Christian Watson, excuse me, get hurt today this week as well?
I didn't really notice or see anything on him. He didn't have too good of a game. 3 catches for 27 yards on 5 targets.
Yeah.
Jalen Reed had 3 catches for 21 yards. I believe he had a touchdown as well that was off of deflection.
Yeah, deflection off of Romeo Dobbs.
Really wasn't. Yeah, wasn't necessarily meant for him, but hey, you get them when they come your way.
He is kind of one of those. In my mind, I think he is kind of one of those waiver wire ads if you need it in a tough spot. Jaden Reed, he's getting the same kind of work as Christian Watson and Luke Musgrave, Romeo Dobbs. He's getting that same kind of work as they spread the ball around. If you're in a spot, I think Jaden Reed is probably out there and available in a lot of leagues.
Yeah, if you're doing, this is the Buy-Mageddon, season or part of the year. So these are guys that are going to come in handy and fill in a pinch. So on Denver's side, nobody on Denver really had a great game. Russell Wilson had 194 yards for a touchdown, 21 yards rushing, was sacked once. Javonte Williams, 82 yards rushing, 3 catches on 4 targets for 14 yards. Jalal McLaughlin, I'm sorry, completely said that wrong. Jolie, sorry, 45 yards rushing and just 1 catch. He's a guy that the last few weeks has had some decent games, but as long as Williams is in front of him, he may be kind of handicapped to just be like touchdown dependent type of guy.
Yeah, that's for sure. He did go off there for a little bit. He was a big pickup there for a couple of weeks when Williams was out. But as long as Williams is around, he's just not going to get enough touches to be relevant in fantasy.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. On the receiving end, Sutton had 6 catches for 76 yards and a touchdown. All 6 of his targets he caught, so he made the use of that. Same thing with Jerry Jeudy, 5 catches for 64 yards. And then other than that, that's it. Those few touchdowns, and then the kickers kind of came in and saved the day here for Denver.
Yep, sure did.
No real big injuries at all really this week.
There weren't too many injuries altogether this week.
No.
It was kind of a little bit of a relief.
Yeah, it was a dull week as far as injuries, so which is pretty rare for an NFL week. Typically you have a good handful of them.
Well, all 32 teams weren't playing either, so we're going to probably see a little less injuries here as we go through, hopefully.
Yeah. what do you
Pittsburgh
got?
Steelers, Los Angeles Rams. Steelers 24, Rams 17. Kenny Pickett 17 for 25. He throws 230 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. And guess who got in the end zone for the first time this year? Najee Harris, baby.
Najee?
He did it. He finally got in the end zone. That was cool to see. 14 carries,
Only took him
53
week
yards.
7.
I know. 6 games in 7 weeks. They've already had their bye, right? So 6 games. He finally found the end zone. Jalen Warren also found the end zone, 32 yards on 6 carries. Through the air. Oh, Najee also had 3 catches for 15 yards, if that matters. George Pickens, 5 receptions, 107 yards. So he's definitely the main target there. Deontay Johnson was back this week, but 6 targets versus 8 targets to George Pickens. I mean, when you just watch the Pickett-Pickens duo there, you can tell that's where Pickett wants to throw the ball. So if you got Pickens, keep riding him. 107 yards, no touchdowns for any of the receivers. Deontay Johnson, he's back, 79 yards on 5 receptions, and that's about it for that game. It was a decently fun game to watch, though.
Cool.
And then then we got the Rams
Pickens,
too. What's up?
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, Pickens does seem to be the favorite, even with Deontay Johnson coming back. He may not see much dip in his production. Johnson may be the odd guy out, or may be the one having to take a beat to Pickens.
I think that's definitely happening. On the other side of the ball with the Rams, Matthew Stafford, 14 for 29, only 231 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. I mean, man, only throwing the ball 29 times and completing 14. That's a rough day at the office there for Stafford. So I know in this game too, with By-Mageddon happening, we had to kind of scramble for some running backs. I noticed you picked up Darrell Henderson, and I picked up Royce Freeman. Right? So that might have been in the other league, but so I had Royce Freeman, 12 carries, 66 yards, 0 touchdowns. And of course, you had Darrell Henderson, 18 carries, 61 yards, and he got the touchdown. So that was kind of the difference maker on that one.
Yeah, for sure. And it was, I mean, it's not like I felt 100% comfortable, because it could have been either one of those guys that got that touchdown.
Yeah.
It's just,
that's the way it was for me too. You're not comfortable doing it, but you have to do something, right? You got to plug somebody in there. Let's see.
How about that Dolphins kicker? Give me 2 fucking points in the 4th quarter because Tua choked on the street. Oh, man, that's why we don't rely on kickers. Yeah, that's a tough one, Frank.
Yeah, my kicker, Brett Maher, right here for the Rams. He 0 points. He missed 2 field goals. He missed an extra point. Just bad. Just bad. It really sucks when it comes down to your kicker.
The extra
too,
points
right?
ones are just so brutal.
I know, it's just a chip shot.
I mean, it's one thing if it gets blocked. It's another thing when they hook it left or right. It's just like, God damn it. Or they double doink it.
Yeah, I don't get it, but I also have never kicked a football through any uprights ever, so I guess we can't talk too much trash on that, because it's probably harder than it seems. But
yeah, I'm sure it is.
What are you gonna do? Here's Puka Nacua, 8 receptions, 154 yards. Tutu Atwell, 1 for 1, 1 reception, 1 touchdown, 31 yards. So that's all he was there for in that game. Cooper Kupp only had two receptions on 7 targets for 29 yards. So here's another one where Cooper Kupp's back, but man, Puka Nacua is doubling his targets. Just I think he's just getting open that much easier and making himself available to get those balls from Stafford.
Yeah. Stafford's just definitely gotten comfortable with him during the time that Cup was out there, with his ring. So.
Yep. They definitely got some rapport going on there. So that's it for that game, really.
All right. Let's go on to the next one that I was checking out. The Bills and the Patriots. Talk about like upset of the week. Who saw the Patriots coming by and beating the Bills? And
I didn't.
the Bills just, I mean, I know division games are tricky, but Jesus Christ, just when I think the Bills are getting over the hump and like ready to take that next step, they lose a game like this. So it was 25-29. Patriots win this one. Josh Allen had a decent day. 265 yards, 2 touchdowns, another interception. 17 yards rushing, ran a touchdown in. So he had a decent fantasy day. James Cook, 56 yards rushing, 3 catches for 46 yards and a receiving touchdown. So that's not too bad of a day. And then the rookie Dalton Kincaid, tight end, had a really good game. 8 targets, 8 catches, 75 yards, no touchdowns, but I mean, really
Solid.
good game for a rookie there. Diggs was decent game as well. 6 catches, 58 yards, and a touchdown on 12 targets. But I'm sure if you ask him, he wasn't targeted enough. So.
No, of course not.
And then the only other one to mention here was Khalil Shakur, 4 catches on 4 targets for 35 yards. So on the Patriots there, Mac Jones had 272 yards with 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. So surprising there. Ramon Stevenson only had 34 yards rushing, but he made his money with catching the ball, 6 catches for 51 yards on his 6 targets. And then Zeke held 31 yards with the rushing touchdown. Receiving wise, Kendrick Bourne again had a good week, 6 catches on 7 targets for 63 yards and a touchdown. And Mike Gesicki had 2 catches for 5 yards and that other touchdown that Mac Jones threw. So no injuries or anything like that, but Patriots at home. Bill Belichick still says, "I know how to win ball games, guys. Don't count me out yet."
No, they did it. I mean, Josh Allen didn't look great. He lost a fumble again. It seems like he's got at least one fumble lost in every game.
Yeah,
it's cool to hear. Zeke Elliott getting in the end zone. Haven't seen that in a while.
I think that's back-to-back weeks now that he's gotten in the end zone. Hasn't put up didn't do much other than that. Didn't get into double-digit points in fantasy-wise. That's only 9 points, but
as far as fantasy goes, he's definitely touchdown dependent. But it was still good to hear his name every once in a while.
Yeah, he's still out there getting a paycheck. So, what game did you have next?
Cardinals, Seahawks.
Oh, you really want to talk
Josh Dobbs, 146 yards, 19 for 33. Man, offensive line is just terrible. It's just terrible. So here's the thing, say Kyler comes back in the next few weeks, right? Because they're talking about maybe rolling him out. Like, I wouldn't get too excited.
Would that be somebody you would go and get?
No, me.
If he's out there in the free agent wire, would that be a guy that you may go and get?
Because the offensive line is so bad, the coaching is so bad, man. I'm a Cardinals fan, but right now, as far as I might give him a couple weeks if for Kyler. But he's going to be playing with that same offensive line and have no time to throw the ball, and it's just too risky for me, So, like I said, 146 yards for Joshua Dobbs, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He rushes for 43 yards. I mean, Dobbs looks, if he had a good front, in front of him, a good line in front of him, I think he could be a decent quarterback at some point. But just overall, the Cardinals are struggling still. So we're still trying to figure out.
At least Dobbs had a rushing touchdown, though.
Yeah, he did. He did have that rushing touchdown on 43 yards rushing. Amara DeMercado, 13 rushes, 58 yards. It's like up and down with the running backs too. It's like who is the running back for the Cardinals? Is it Damian Williams? Is it DeMercado? Who is it? Is it Rondale Moore? 24 yards rushing.
Right.
Through the air, Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown, 49 points or 49 yards. The second-year tight end, Trey McBride, 29 yards on 3 catches. The rookie, Michael Wilson, 3 catches, 26 yards. Zach Ertz with 19 yards. And that's it on that side of the ball. I mean, 10 points in the game. So Dobbs finds the end zone for our only touchdown. On the other side, we got Geno Smith. Didn't throw a whole lot. He was only 18 for 24, 219 yards. Did throw 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Six rushing attempts for 10 yards for Geno. Kenneth Walker, man, just an absolute stud on the day. 105 yards, no touchdowns, but 26 carries for 100 yards, 105 yards. That's workhorse type stuff right there. Zach Charbonnet was out of the mix. So it's kind of.
Would you say he's their new beast mode?
I wouldn't go that far. I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but he had a solid game. Okay, let's give respect where respect is due. Jackson Smith and Jigba, JSN, 4 catches, 63 yards, and a touchdown. And DK Metcalf was out, so it was up to these other guys. We got Jake Bobo, 61 yards on 4 catches, 1 touchdown.
He had a great catch. That touchdown catch was awesome. Man.
Yeah, that was impressive. Absolutely impressive. Tyler Lockett, 38 yards on 4 catches. Colby Parkinson, too, for 2 catches, 26 yards. That's about it on that side. We'll see what happens when DK comes back. But that Jake Bobo, I think, is a nice little addition to that team.
DK doesn't look like that's a long-term thing. Just this week, just couldn't go.
Yeah,
from what you can tell. Okay.
Yeah, I think
Jackson Smith did pretty good in this place. Okay. Yes. If Najigba's out there, I would think you should probably go and get him, or he wouldn't be bad to kind of go and snag him up and get him on your bench just in case the injury for DK kind of lingers and he ends up being out a little bit longer, in a few games.
Yeah, that could be a decent one for sure.
All right. Next game that I want to talk about, which was just a back and forth shootout, the Browns versus the Colts. 39-38, Browns win this one. Who didn't help him win though was Deshaun Watson.
Not much help at all, was he?
No, he started and then he was right back out. He went 1 for 5 for 5 yards and an interception. And then in came Paul Walker, or not Paul Walker, he did. PJ Walker. Yeah, my bad. I misspoke there. But PJ Walker, 178 yards, 1 interception for 2 sacks. So it's not like he did much to help.
He didn't have to. The
Ford
defense did.
Yeah, defense and Jerome Ford had 74 yards, a touchdown, 2 catches for 20 yards on 4 targets, and then Hunt had 2 touchdowns. He was a game time decision, but his thigh was okay enough for him to get 2 touchdowns and 31 yards. Elijah Moore had 4 catches for 59 yards on 7 targets. Njoku had 9 targets, 5 catches, 54 yards. Amari Cooper didn't do much with his opportunities. He was targeted 8 times, but only had 2 catches for 22 yards. How did Cleveland get all their points? Defense. They had a strip sack in the end zone, and then their damn kicker hit 3, count them, 3 50-yard field goals. One of them a 58-yard field goal, and then a 40-yard field goal. So
yeah, the kicker and Myles Garrett. Man, just watching Myles Garrett yesterday was just insane. 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 2 fumbles, 2 forced fumbles. He blocks a field goal. He batted like 2 or 3 balls down. Man, I know this is fantasy and it doesn't really apply, but watching that was insane. What a beast.
Yeah, absolutely. He had his way with them over there. So, and then he was definitely a big reason to help, especially with their kicker as well. Let's see. Dob, we have a question coming in for Dobie. Half PPR, a trade, Devontae Smith for Amari Cooper and Olave in a half PPR league. What do you think?
That's a tough one. I mean,
Smith's been on a down slope here. He had a 1 catch game, and then he has 3 straight bad games in a row here. And Philadelphia's offense hasn't looked as powerful as it did last year. I don't know if you noticed, but what's his name? Hurts. I know we haven't got to that game yet, but he was kind of limping around there towards the end of the game. He ended up wearing a brace, I saw. So
yeah, he was wearing a brace at the end of the day. But I don't know, man. That's a tough one. Amari Cooper. I don't know that depending on which quarterback is playing, whether it's PJ Walker or Deshaun Watson. I don't know that that's going to make a big difference for Amari. And Olave hasn't been much of a stud. I don't know, man. What's your consensus on it?
That's the tough part. The intriguing out of all those offenses, Philadelphia's offense I like better. Obviously, they have the better quarterback with Hurts compared to the Browns dealing with PJ Walker, and then the Saints having Derek Carr.
The thing about the good offense, though, for the Eagles is they've got Goddard, they've got Brown, they've got Swift coming out of the backfield, stealing a lot of those. As a Devontae Smith owner and a Jalen Hurts owner, I might think about doing that. Cooper and Olave for Devonta Smith.
Yeah, I think especially if you don't have much receiver depth, at the end of the day, I probably would pull the trigger, even though it's still a half PPR, just because I'm more intrigued with Olave. Olave's probably the number 1. If not, at worst, he's maybe the number 2 behind Michael Thomas. And it's not even like Michael Thomas is getting a shit ton of yards or like a lot of
Rashid Shaheed.
Back in the day, Michael Thomas was getting like 10 targets a game, along with his 10 catches. So he's not quite the same Michael Thomas as he used to be.
I wouldn't be afraid of that. I wouldn't be afraid of that trade, though. Devontae Smith's just not getting just not getting the volume, that we expected, just because they have so many weapons there, that are kind of taking those touches from him.
Yeah, he's a big boomer bust type of guy. So
Yep.
Smith, if he has a few touchdowns, that's great. But the good thing with these guys too is Cooper and Olave are definitely in the same kind of situation where if they get a few touchdowns, they could have just as good a game as Smith, and you have both of those guys for Smith. At the end of the year, it may end up working out. So I wouldn't be afraid to pull the trigger on that one. The one thing I would check on is just kind of make sure maybe Cooper and Olave don't have the same bye week. That may bite you in the ass if you trade for them and they end up having the same bye week and you have to set them both there. So
That would hurt.
But thanks for the question. If you guys have any more questions, like I said, keep them coming in. So to finish up this game the Colts game, Gardner Minshew, 305 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 29 yards rushing with 2 rushing touchdowns as well. So not a bad fantasy day, but
he was just
the
living in
interception does not help. Yeah, he kind of stole all those touchdowns from Jonathan Taylor.
He sure did. I mean, JT got
Taylor
one
still
too,
had a
didn't he?
decent day. Who?
JT.
Oh, yeah,
Jonathan
he did. Yeah. He could have had a bigger day, though, but he still did have 175 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 catches for 45 yards. So he had a decent day on 4 targets there. Zach Moss still had 57 yards rushing, 1 catch on 2 targets. Downs had another good game, 5 catches for 125 yards and 1 touchdown on 6 targets.
So you mean if
Michael
anybody was
Pittman was the
listening
other
last
guy?
week, real quick, if anybody was listening last week and I said go get Josh Downs off the waiver wire, if you did, you should be happy with that.
Correct. If you took the VP's advice last week and picked him up and played him, then you're patting yourself on the back there. So Michael Pittman, also, yeah, you can go ahead and do that. 2 catches for 83 yards on 5 targets and a touchdown. Alec Pierce had an okay game. Was involved, 3 catches, 3 targets, 53 yards. But other than that, nobody else really much to talk about there. Like I said, it was a fun game to watch. It was just going back and forth. But before we get up to our next game, let me ask you, because I had a question here. And anybody that's watching, or leave your opinion in the comments if you're not watching live. But who do you think had the shittier day or was the bigger disappointment? Deshaun Watson with his 1 for 5 yards and an interception, or Bijan Robinson there?
Okay, this is really
only
easy.
One.
This is really easy. Okay. Deshaun Watson, the back of his head hit the turf, and he enters concussion protocol, right? Granted, they said he passed through concussion protocol before the game was over. Why they didn't put him back in, I don't know. Maybe it's because their defense was doing so good and PJ Walker was handling himself okay. But BJ Robinson just gets a tummy ache, you know, bubble guts. Did he eat burritos before the game? Who knows? Like, I think that's the bigger disappointment because it wasn't like an in-game injury. At one point, he walked out on the field and just trotted back. Like, nope, I'm not doing it. My tummy hurts.
That's bizarre. That totally fucked me over too. Because there's a big reason why I lost him in the Chicago Clubhouse League. Getting a big fat donut from him definitely didn't help. It didn't help that I didn't have a kicker going either, just because there's no one to get. But
yeah, that's tough when your first round pick sits out for a bellyache.
Yeah. That was brutal. So I mean, what do you guys think? Who was a bigger disappointment, Bijan Robinson or Deshaun Watson? So let us know in the comments. Mitch or VP, who do you got? What game do you want to talk about next? I think we only got a few.
All right. Well, we got to talk about both of these games. I think we got the Chargers and Chiefs. Taylor Swift was in attendance, in case you didn't see it. Chargers, Justin Herbert, 17 for 30, 259 yards, throws 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. Not a horrible game from him. I think just altogether they were struggling. Joshua Kelly, 7 carries, 75 yards. Did find the end zone for a touchdown. Seems like the Joshuas did all right. Josh Palmer, 5 receptions, 133 yards. Speaking of Eckler, he had 14 carries. He didn't capitalize on them a whole lot. I mean, for 14 carries, only 45 yards. That's an average of 3.2 yards per carry. A little bit of a struggle bus on that one. Keenan Allen, I was hoping he had a touchdown. I had a prop bet for him to have a touchdown, but that didn't come to fruition. He only had 4 receptions, 55 yards. That's on 9 targets. So just under half of those. And the tight end, Gerald Everett, 3 catches, 26 yards. The rookie, Quentin Johnston, that was a guy that I was kind of thinking about for a waiver wire the last couple weeks. He just hasn't shown much of anything. He's just not getting the targets. Only 2 targets in this game. Of course, it's hard to get targets when you're playing the Chiefs defense, though, right?
Yeah, Chiefs defense is definitely what's keeping them in a lot of these games. Their offense hasn't been that same explosive offense where they're scoring 40 points a game.
Well, they were this week. I mean, they really were this week, man. Patty Mahomes, 32 for 42, 424 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 pick. I mean, if that's not offense for you, I don't really know what is, right? So,
yeah, I'm happy I didn't have to play him this week.
Yeah, me too. Me too. So 4 carries, 29 yards for Mahomes. Isaiah Pacheco, 32 yards. No touchdowns there for the running backs rushing. Isaiah Pacheco did catch 1 for a touchdown. Rashee Rice, that's another one of those that I said go pick up on the waiver wire if you haven't already. I did 60 yards, 1 touchdown. I was happy to have that touchdown there. MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, 3 receptions, 84 yards. Also brings in a tutty. Travis Kelce, 179 yards and 1 touchdown there. Just another huge game. 12 receptions on 13 targets, man. Just stomping over everybody, man. So
I think that's Day too.
National Tight Ends Day. That's right. So he capitalized on that for sure. So that's a big takeaway there, man. It's the Mahomes Kelce that matchup it's not going anywhere, man. It's there to stay.
And whenever your girl shows up to watch you play, you always do better there, So
yeah, well, I think he's like, hey man, give me the
does.
ball a couple more times so my girl can see, And then, did you see?
I'll get you.
You see Taylor and Brittany Mahomes with their little secret handshake they were doing now? They got a secret handshake.
Oh, yeah. I did notice that they're BFFs now, for sure.
Yeah, that was cute.
Until one of them gets traded like in 5 years, then then it'll be like, oh, shit.
Yeah, let's see if they go up for mimosas
but
anymore.
Yeah, so the Chiefs are. Yeah, well, what do you call? One of them just had the baby that Mahomes'
Brittany,
wife just had a baby, like insane. Yeah, so she may not be able to drink quite yet, but they're coming up soon, so we'll see.
She's fine.
So
baby's out.
Yeah,
She's fine.
Like I said, they got that handshake down. Yeah. All right. Well, my last game that I want to cover, I saved the best for last. My Chicago Bears got a nice victory here.
With a dub.
Vegas Raiders, yeah. Took care of the Raiders, 30-12. Brian Hoyer was one of our MVPs of the game. 129 yards, uh, 2 interceptions, one of those being a pick six, and was sacked once. He played so bad that they ended up pulling him for Aiden O'Connor. He ended up having 75 yards with a touchdown and threw an interception himself. Josh Jacobs, very ineffective, 35 yards rushing. That's it. They kept Devontae Adams on check for the most part. He had 12 targets, 7 catches for 57 yards, touchdowns. Jacoby Myers is the only one that got a touchdown there on 13 targets, 7 catches, 50 yards. Last week we talked about Michael Mayer. He did not back it up with another solid game. Targeted only 4 times, 2 catches for 13 yards. On Chicago's side, Tyson Bagent, the secret Bagent man that came in for Justin Fields, had a decent day. He didn't set the world on fire, but he didn't lose the game.
No, but he
So,
looked comfortable. He actually looked, comfortable with what he was doing. He had 65 of his friends and family in the stands watching. He looked comfortable. He looked like he was, poised enough for his first NFL start. I thought it was a decent showing for his first game.
yeah, I did too. And his friends and family coming from West Virginia, that was the whole population of West Virginia came to see him. So they were empty there for a day. Yeah, he had a really good game, a solid game. His dad was, I guess, like a 14-time arm wrestling champion too.
Really?
So yeah, really. So the kid knows how to win. He knows how to go over the top. So
All right.
he had 162 yards. No more bad jokes, I promise. 162 yards with the passing touchdown. Got his first passing touchdown. He had his first rushing touchdown the week before. So with 24 yards rushing, the big guy stud this week for this game was Deontay Foreman. 89
Yes,
yards rushing, 2 touchdowns rushing, 3 catches for 31 yards, and 1 receiving touchdown as well. And then he had a hurdle and a half. You don't get points for that, at least not in this league. But he did hurdle a guy and almost did it again. On the receiving end, I misspoke last week after going back and watching with DJ Moore. You asked me with Fields being out, is that going to affect DJ Moore? And I meant to say yes with the touchdown wise. I think it's going to hurt his touchdowns, but I think he could still be a viable as far as in a PPR league for catches.
Okay.
Which was his favorite target.
I still figure he's going to be, fantasy viable. He's still going to get 50 to 80 yards a game, but is it going to just bring him down in, like, if you got a tier setup of wide receivers, does it knock him down a couple?
Like I said, I think maybe 1, because I don't know how many touchdowns he's going to have. Now, granted, Badgett did look his way, and he had a touchdown in his hands, but it got knocked out last second by the defender.
Yep.
Defender made a good play. I think it was Peters, but he was that close to getting the receiving touchdown. So Badgett is looking his way. He had 9 targets, 8 catches for 50 yards, like you just said. Mooney was the only other guy that really did anything. He had 4 targets, 4 catches, 32 yards. The big dud in this game was from Cole Kmet. He was a ghost. He didn't have anything.
Was he active?
Yeah, no, he was active. He was playing. He just wasn't in part of the game plan this week. So, yeah. But at the end of the day, I'm sure he doesn't really matter as long as the Bears win, which they did. And it was awesome to see him. It was a very surprising win. I'm happy to see Bagent playing the way that he did. Very poised in himself. Didn't try and do anything crazy. So let's see if
No,
he
I
can do it
think
again
he
next
was
week.
comfortable, man, and I'm happy for you and all those Bear fans out there that have been waiting for a win. Happy for you, buddy.
Yeah, yeah. It was like I said. It was very very nice. It's always nice to talk about a win instead of having to go out there and talk about what we did wrong. Now, as far as Bajent, if Fields sits out again this week, looking at Bajent's numbers, I don't know if I this is what you can kind of expect from it. 162 yards rushing, or not rushing, but passing, and maybe a touchdown. He might throw an interception this one against the Chargers. Um, maybe he is capable of rushing, but I don't see him having like a 300 game. If he did that, that would be very surprising.
Yeah,
Maybe he
for
gets up
sure.
to 200, but other than that, I don't see too much more coming out of him. But if you need him because of the Bimageddons that's going on, by all means, he may be decent enough. Maybe you pick him up instead of Sam Howell or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, Sam Howell kind of burned me this week, but I guess that's going to happen. So we're getting close
Yeah,
to on time here, aren't we, buddy?
we are. Is there any games or anything that you need to go over or anything else?
There's one more, the Sunday night game, the Eagles Dolphins. Um, like you
Yes.
said, Jalen Hurts was in a boot at the end of the game, but I don't. From what I've read this morning and throughout the day, it doesn't seem to be anything that's too concerning. He should be back out on the field next week. Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. We're good.
Okay. My audio went out. So Jalen Hurts,
Okay.
23 for 31, 279 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Another strong one there. He threw for 2, ran for 1 like he always does with that brotherly shove they got going over there in Philly.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
DeAndre Swift, 15 carries, 62 yards. Kenneth Gainwell, 8 carries, 16 yards, and a touchdown. AJ Brown,
Okay.
touchdown. So you see what? Just like I said before, we got 15 targets for AJ Brown, 5 for Goddard, and 5 for Devontae Smith. So AJ Brown
Gotcha.
comes up with 137 yards, 1 touchdown. Dallas Goddard, 5 receptions, 77 yards, and a touchdown. And Devontae Smith catches 4 out of 5 for 49 yards. So I guess, of course, AJ Brown's the number 1 receiver there. We all know that.
Yeah.
But, when it comes to Devontae Smith, these are the type of numbers that we've been seeing, 50 yards. And maybe he gets into the end zone every other week, right?
Correct. Yeah. That's what. If he gets in the end zone, he looks like he has a pretty decent fantasy. If he doesn't, then it looks like just a meh kind of day.
Yeah, you're
So
7,
he's
8, 9
definitely not one
points
of
in
those guys where
PPR.
he gets a lot of catches.
Right.
Yeah. Correct. So.
On the other side,
was there?
I was just going to say, Tua had a decent game, 216 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Maybe that's not a decent game. It's kind of a meh game for Tua. Raheem Mostert, 45 yards. Tyreek Hill, no backflips in the end zone this week, but he did get 88 yards on 11 catches, 1 touchdown, and not a lot of waddling going on either. 63 yards for Jalen Waddle.
Well, I saw he got knocked out of the game there for a little bit. He ended up making his way back into it, but I think he missed about a quarter, maybe a quarter and a half.
Yeah, he did miss a little bit of time there, but what did they say it was? He was stretching. He was having some cramps in his back, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it was just mostly
him coming back
cramping.
into the game. Okay. Well, that's good. Like I said, him being able to make his way back into the game makes you feel confident that he should be able to play the following week.
Yeah, that's always
Granted,
a
if there's no
positive sign.
setbacks during practice. Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, for sure. So
that's it for me, bud.
But yeah, the Dolphins. All right, right. My three. I just want to give a shout out to like the three guys this week that I watched that ended up that was the studs of the week here. In no particular order here, Lamar Jackson to me was one of the studs of the week with his three touchdowns, passing, one rushing, the 57 yards passing, and then 36 yards rushing on top of that. And then the next guy I would say would be Alvin Kamara. He had the 14 targets, 12 catches, 91 yards, 62 yards rushing, 91 yards receiving. No touchdowns, but being in a PPR league, like that's a pretty damn good day.
All
If
those
he had a
catches was
touchdown, that would
huge.
just be even better. Yes, yeah, yeah. Just having 12 catches right there, that's like two touchdowns. As far
Right.
as the point, depending on your points or whatnot. But and then last was tough. I had to go back and forth between St. Brown, but I gave it to Mark Andrews with his two touchdowns on 4 catches, 6 targets, and 63 yards receiving. So those were my studs of the week.
So I didn't define any studs, but I mean, just going through, kind of looking here. I mean, you got Travis Kelce with a huge day. Yeah, I didn't really go through that, and then of course, Deontay Foreman had a big day too. So
Absolutely. Well, if there's anybody that we missed or didn't mention, drop it into the comments. Please like the channel here and share it. We'll be back here next Monday. It may look a little different. Next Monday, we're working through a few more things here to try and improve, what we do here for you guys. So, but please like and share. Leave a comment. Like I said, if there's anybody that we may have missed or you agree or didn't agree with or whatnot. I want to give a reminder to our other shows here coming up again here. We have tomorrow's show that starts at 8 Central with Frank the Tank, T. Nick, Foulmouth C, and JB Stats. Tune in. We're going to talk about the Bears game and the following matchup. And then on Thursday, we have the midweek show that starts at 7 Central, I believe. That's with Sugar and Vodka, Chef, and Amp. They also recap the game and talk about the upcoming game against the Chargers. And then on Friday nights, we have our Easy Does It show. That's 8 Central as well. I'm not sure who's Easy's Get's going to be this week, but tune in. And he'll also talk about the Bears game and what happened and give his opinion on what's to look for on this upcoming game. I also want to give a shout out to the Tilt is Real podcast. They come on Sundays before the game, 7 o'clock in the morning, to talk about who you should start and who you should not start. Been on their show or kind of talked with those guys. They're happy to kind of give us a plug as well for this show. So we appreciate you guys over there. So check them out Sunday mornings if you want any last minute advice about who to start and maybe who to bench. Mitch, did you have any shout outs or any last words for our guest here or our audience members?
No, not really. But I will say that remember, you and I are playing fantasy against each other this week. We're playing each other. I just kind of tuned in over to the Minnesota San Francisco game, and so far you're in the clear. There's one touchdown, but it went to Jordan Addison. So TJ Hawkinson has not come close to 28 points yet, but he does have 10 so far. So he gets in the end zone, you might have to start worrying.
I might have to make a call and kind of get that game taken care of and see what I can do about that. I don't like
All
the
right.
sound of that right there.
Yep. Go
So
work your crooked magic, buddy.
yeah, we gotta get off the air. We gotta end this shit here. I don't like that's not good. That's not good.
All right,
All
buddy.
right. We're gonna go ahead and take off. Again, I want to give a shout out to T-Nick and the Chicago Clubhouse Network, our sponsor, First Beer and In the Zone, and then Visions as well. So thank you all for tuning in. Like I said, come and join us next week as well. Crooked Commish Fantasy Football Hour with the VP and friends. Thank you all. Have a good night. Until next week, be good or be good at it.